Honestly, if 95% of the people that I treat at the clinic every day implemented these 5 things, they would feel so much better on a day-to-day basis. I am not kidding. You don't need any fancy gimmicks or supplements or technology or anything like that either. Sometimes it's the simplest things that can make the biggest difference. So here I want to share with you 5 simple changes that you can make on a daily basis that will have you feeling your best. Tip number 1 is to actually increase your water intake. The average person drinks about 44 ounces of water a day. I got this stat from just a simple Google search, and truly based off of the people that I treat on a day-to-day basis, this is pretty accurate. And it's funny because when I try to talk to people about this and I suggest that maybe they start increasing their water intake, the biggest resistance or like the biggest counterpoint that I get is that they don't want to pee so much. And I completely understand this sentiment. I drink close to a gallon of water a day, and so going to the bathroom more than the average person is a part of it. But the body is made up of mostly water, and a lot of the shared complaints that the majority of people have could be eased or improved, in part at least, by making sure that they're properly hydrated. I'm talking fatigue, brain fog, short-term memory loss, cravings, poor digestion, bloating, things of that nature. There's usually a hydration component involved, and drinking more water than you might think that you need could, most of the time, help ease or improve those symptoms. Not to mention the fact that your skin looks so much better, so much brighter, so much more plump when you are properly hydrated. So if you find yourself on the lower end of the hydration spectrum, I recommend trying to aim for at least 2 liters of water a day or so. So that's closer to 67 ounces. And you don't have to jump right into it either. I tell people to just slowly start increasing their water intake, have a goal in mind, maybe start carrying around a water bottle or having a glass of water at your desk while you work to kind of just start training yourself to start drinking more water more regularly, until you get those hydration, those drinking cues up in your body to a more normal level, to where you are easily able to intake those 2 liters of water in more easily than you are at right now. And as you slowly start to adjust too, you'll start to notice that it's going to get easier for you to drink that much water, and your body's going to actually start craving it as well. Tip number 2 is to wait at least 2 hours after waking up to look at your phone. I have to remind myself of this all the time, and I know it's really hard to do, especially if you use your phone as an alarm like I do. Gotta make that switch at some point, but for now that is what I have, and so this is a struggle of mine also. In my fall reset video from a few weeks ago, I had mentioned that this was one of the things that I was gonna start working on over that 30-day period that I talked about in the video. And so I'm a few weeks into it now. I am by no means perfect. It was not very easy for me to just make the switch from, not scrolling first thing in the morning to not. But as I've gotten more into it and I've kind of lost like that impulse or that urge or the reflex to just reach for my phone as I'm waiting for my water to boil or whatever, I have noticed improvements in like concentration. I feel a lot more clear-headed throughout the day. I feel a lot more centered, a lot less scatterbrained also. And the interesting thing is that I've also noticed myself feeling a lot more creative and just present with whatever is going on around me on that particular day. My concentration is way better too, which is helping me be more productive. Just in general, like not feeling like my energy is scattered or like my thought patterns are scattered really also helps me manage stress better, and it also makes it a lot easier to manage any anxiety that might come up throughout the day. And surprisingly too, I've noticed myself spending a lot less time on my phone throughout the day in general when I don't get on my phone first thing in the morning. So for you, especially if you are someone who is high stress, you have a high stress job, high stress day-to-day life, or maybe you are also working on managing some anxiety or other mental health concerns in your life, this is super important. The way that you start your day is super duper important. It's really difficult to be mindful of the things that we're consuming if we're doing it first thing in the morning. And this also does extend to the news in general. Giving yourself a chance to ease into the day in a more mindful way really makes a huge difference. And when you avoid getting onto your phone first thing in the morning, it takes you from like that reactive state of like you reacting to things that might be going on and whatever it is that you're looking at on your phone, to a more proactive where you're able to output energy instead of just responding to the things going on around you. Tip number 3 is to do a simple 10-minute body flow in the morning before you go on with the rest of your day. In Chinese medicine, one of the biggest causes of dis-ease or disease is stagnation. A stagnation of energy will cause stagnation in the tissues. It'll affect the way all of the moving systems and functions of the body work. And stagnant energy can also be linked to mental and emotional imbalances as well. This is true in Western medicine. Western medicine has also found a link between inactivity levels and mental and emotional imbalances. And this is also very true in Chinese medicine and any other holistic medical practices. And even if you're someone who prefers to get your activities in at the end of the day or after work in the evenings, that's totally fine too. But just getting into the practice of moving your body first thing in the morning, moving any stagnation, getting rid of that stiffness, it's going to really help with any chronic pain that you might be struggling with. It'll help with inflammation, and it'll just help improve your energy throughout the day as well. Movement in general promotes the free flow of energy throughout the body, which is what we really want. There are tons of great channels here on YouTube that can offer you some ideas, some guidance. There are lots of options just depending on what kind of activity it is that you want to do. Yoga with Adriene is one of my personal favorites. She's an amazing yoga instructor, and she has specific flows too if you want to focus on your neck or your low back or your hips. So she's a wonderful option regardless of the level that you are at. If you want something a little bit more gentle, I would go for Qigong. The benefits with Qigong is that not only are you getting that gentle movement, but it's also a form of moving meditation. Or if you want something a little bit more spicy, a little bit more fiery, you really want to engage your body, you want something a little bit more of a challenge, Googling or searching for some animal flow videos will really start to engage every single part of your body. And really the most important thing of all of this is to just move. Your body will tell you exactly what it needs. Do something that feels good. Anything that feels good in your body is something that you are very much getting benefit from, regardless of what that movement is. Tip number 4 is to release your hips and your back often. I see so many patients on a weekly basis that really struggle with their hips, that really struggle with their back. They have tightness, they have chronic pain, they feel stiff, they feel achy, all of those not so fun things. And I have to say that the majority of them would really benefit from having some kind of mindfulness practice, some kind of movement practice, or some exercises, some stretches, a routine of some kind that would allow them to release their hips and their lower back in one way or another on a more regular basis. I myself fall into this category sometimes. I'll catch myself rubbing my lower back or wanting to stretch my hips or something like that, and I'll catch myself doing this and I'll realize that it's because I haven't been paying attention to these areas nearly enough in that time frame, and it usually catches up to me fairly quickly. I need to do this for myself at least a couple times a week, otherwise I'll really be feeling it at the end of the week, and it causes all kinds of other issues too. It doesn't just ever stay local to the hips and the back. So I do have a few go-tos that personally feel really good in my body that I love to suggest to others whenever it is that I'm feeling stiff in my lower back or my hips. They are pretty simple too. The first is glute bridges, where you're really just engaging the glutes and the hamstrings. That helps release the front part of the hips, the psoas, the hip flexors, which a lot of people have a hard time with. We spend so much of our time sitting, so if we're not consciously releasing those muscles at the end of the day, or at least a few times a week, they're really gonna start getting achy and they will let you know that they need a release. The second one is child's pose. This one feels so good at the end of a long day. It feels really good to just kind of settle into your body at the beginning of the day too. I find the most benefit in this from the stretch that it gives me in my lower back. And because you're resting your arms on the ground, it's really allowing those muscles in the upper back to just relax and release. Those muscles spend so much time during the day doing so much work, holding our bodies up, holding our heads up. So just allowing those muscles to release will create space not only in the muscles, but in the vertebrae in your back. It feels really, really good. Number 3 is hip lifts. The benefit that I get from this is it allows the leg that's in the back, that hip will get some stretch along that hip crease. And then the leg that's in the front, it'll allow you to stretch out your hamstrings dynamically. So that means that there's some movement happening while you're stretching. This helps prevent injuries, it helps just maintain proper blood flow, and it kind of ensures that you're not just sitting and like leaning into a stretch that your body might not be prepared for. So this is just really good all the way around. It's really going to be great for mobility, but it's also a really yummy stretch if you kind of just really focus on those areas that are being lengthened as you are going through these movements. Number 4 is dead bugs. And so this one's a little bit interesting. Like, you wouldn't think that this would be helpful for your back in any particular way, just because it is focusing on the core. But a few years ago, I had injured my back at the gym, and I went to physical therapy. And in physical therapy, I learned that my core was actually really weak, even though the rest of my body didn't feel like it was weak. But spending some time doing dead bugs, I've kind of added this to my routine ever since then, and it allows me to really strengthen my core, to help engage the core. And when you engage the core, that's what's going to offer stability to your lower back. It's going to help you maintain your pelvis in proper alignment, which is going to benefit your hips. So it's going to be really good all the way around. Unless you're super intentional with it, chances are you are not as diligent in strengthening your core as you would be otherwise. I totally fall into this category. It really took me a long time, a lot of practice and intention to really focus on my core, not just for like aesthetic purposes or because I wanted abs, but more so just because it helps maintain the integrity of your whole body. And the last one is pigeon. This one is self-explanatory. It's going to really get you to stretch into the hips. It's going to help release the piriformis. That's a muscle that a lot of people struggle with when they have low back issues and hip issues. If you suffer from sciatica, this muscle might be tight. It is a common culprit in sciatica, so just lean into this. You don't have to get super deep, nothing like that. Just remember that all of these stretches and movements should feel really, really good in your body. And yeah, I think that if you try these, you will probably really enjoy them. They just feel really good. And these would all actually be really good to incorporate into your morning flow too. I try to take a couple minutes before my morning workouts to kind of just move into my body, start creating space in the joints. It's going to help relieve any muscle tension, and it's just going to create more stability and openness throughout your body as a whole. And again, while you're doing these exercises, just make sure to really engage with your body, be mindful. The whole mind-muscle connection thing is very real. And if you can kind of just start connecting to those different areas in your body, again, your body will tell you what it is that it needs. And yeah, it'll actually feel really, really good. So tip number 5, this one is a little bit far out there, might be a little bit unexpected to some of you, but that is to massage your feet regularly. Your feet are the foundation for your whole body. Your whole body rests on your feet. I'm massaging my feet right now as we speak. And it's funny because I do bring this up to people quite often when I'm working with them. And when I ask people if they massage their own feet, they always look so taken aback, like, why would they ever massage their own feet? I get it. It always feels so much better when someone else is rubbing your feet for you. But again, your feet are the foundation for your whole body, and they do need some manual therapy. They do need to get those tissues released in order for them to function at their best. Having healthy, pain-free feet can help prevent chronic issues further up the chain, like your knees, your hips, your back. Even further up, there's been research that shows that foot function can also have an effect in areas that you might not feel like they do. You might not even really make that connection right off the bat. And really all you need is just a few minutes. I like to do it in the evenings after I've showered and gotten ready for bed. It's super relaxing. It always gets me really it gets me just like in the right energetic space for me to start relaxing for the rest of the evening before I head to bed. And it's also super easy for you to do while you're just sitting and watching TV or what have you. It really just requires a few minutes of your time. It feels really good too. You might not think that it does because someone else isn't doing it for you, but it is really good for your feet in general for them to be regularly massaged and released. And I won't show you how to massage your feet in this video because that would be kind of weird for me to just put my foot up to the camera, but some special things to just pay attention to is just to focus on the 3 arches of the foot. So the one that kind of goes from the big toe down to the heel, the one that goes from the pinky toe down to the heel, and then the one that kind of goes right underneath the ball of the foot. Spending some time in those areas, I guarantee you that if you start pressing into your feet right now, it probably feels really good. Other areas, just right along the ankle or the top of the foot, especially in between the bones that make up the metatarsals. So just right between those areas of the foot, creating some space, the toes, all of that good stuff. And on the topic of foot health, what's something else that's super important to be a little bit mindful of is the types of shoes that you're wearing, especially if you struggle with foot pain, with bunions or other deformities. And again, this isn't for everyone, so take this advice with a grain of salt. Do your own research, just depending on what you have going on with your feet. It may or may not be appropriate to jump into this right away, but having shoes with a wide toe box to allow your toes to properly spread in the way that they were meant to, something with a 0 drop so that you aren't walking at a decline, I guess you could say, where your heels aren't elevated. And then something with a flexible sole so that it really allows your foot to move the way that you would as if they weren't being restrained inside of a shoe. I see so many older patients who really struggle with chronic foot pain, and honestly, if you start now, you will thank yourself later. I transitioned to more natural footwear maybe like 2.5 years now, and I had really been struggling with foot pain. I had started to develop a bunion. I really liked all those really cute shoes with narrow toe boxes, but as soon as I made the switch, my foot pain started to go away, and I just don't think I could ever go back because it just feels really good to just have my feet being able to move freely and not feeling so restricted. So if you start now, you will thank yourself later. So there you have it. Those are the 5 simple changes that I think we could all use in our lives. If you decide to make any of these changes in your own life, keep me posted. Let me know how you feel in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you in the next video.